I joined swore in at 12 o'clock noon on February 28th, 1968. And the same day I got my draft notice to report for but I was already in. Mm-hmm. And which was after a little bit of a fight. They didn't take me in at first. I joined the fucking Army in 1968, tests going on, and they turned me down.
Why?
Section 32. When you go through processing, they have you bend over, spread your cheeks, do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so they had this guy next to me, and they have you touch your toes, and he's doing this pathetic stuff, and the sergeant walks by, and he says, hey man, the sergeant didn't see me. And I said, well, so what? And he said, well, I can't touch my toes. And I said, okay, this guy's some kind of weirdo, He said, yeah, right. And he said, no Jew can touch his toes. And I said, what? And he's got papers like this high of doctor excuses for like 20 reasons why he can't go in the Army. So he said, call the sergeant. This guy keeps pestering the fuck out of me. So I say, hey, Sarge, this asshole says he can't touch his toes. Sergeant comes over, try to touch your toes. Good enough, you're in. So they just blow him off, and oh man, this guy, okay, well, I got all these other, and that's when he showed me those paperwork.
Yeah.
And he had it in a little folder and everything, And he was from Miami, I think it was. And so we get all done. We go through all the line, blah, blah, blah. We get to the end. And there's this big, fucking huge guy like Lowell, that kind of stuff, in overalls, just crying his eyes out. He's from South Georgia. He'd never been off the farm. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. So he was in the line. You're not in, they put it. So I walk up there, and I see this Jewish guy. And he said, well, hey, how'd you do? I said, I passed. And I got in the line to pass. He said, let me see your record. And he looked down. He said, no, you didn't.
Oh, no.
I said, yeah, I did. It says accepted up here. And he says, no, that's for the eye test. And so I read this little print, and it says eye test. I said, fuck. I thought I passed all this time.
Yeah.
So he says, no, look down here. And there's two little fucking tiny boxes. One of them says, is qualified for, and is not qualified for military service. And mine's checked, not qualified for.
Why?
And I say, my question exactly, John. I said, well, my exact phrase is a little bit different.
Yeah.
I say, well, what the fuck? What is this? And so I look down, and it's got like 4 things listed that are wrong with me. One of them is pes planus, which is flat feet.
Okay.
Because I have had my feet run over. By then it was only 2 times. Later on, it was 4 times.
Damn.
But each foot 2 times. But so it kind of flattens your feet out after a while, So and then so they blew that off, and something else, and they blew that off, and so another thing they said, who cares? We need guys. We need bodies.
Why is having flat feet just a problem in the military?
I don't know. I always heard that for World War II and all.
Was that why they declined you?
No, they passed that.
Oh, okay.
They don't give a shit. I mean, you can't walk? Okay, get over there in that truck, or
Yeah.
I was going in to be a tanker anyway.
Of course.
I was not going to be humping a packer. I did that in the swamps in Florida.
Yep.
I knew how that went, and and with all these morons that you're in there with, holy shit! I mean, these guys are as dumber than those fucking dumbbells. I mean, oh my God, their brains have the penetrability of those weights. So, and you want to be out in the fucking field with them? No.
Hell no.
And so, and besides, I was enlisting, and when I went to enlist, he said, "What do you enlist for?" I said, "Well, I don't know." So he had those little dial things, so he dials to, how about admin? You'd be perfect for admin. You got really high scores and all. And I said, No, I didn't go in the Army to fucking be a clerk. And so he goes to artillery, you know, and he gets to armor. And I says, armor, what is that? He says, tanks. I thought, that's
Sounds
it.
awesome.
I've always wanted to drive a tank. That's it. He says, tanks. And he said, no, you don't want to sign up for that. I mean, you know, you're joining up. You can sign up for anything. And I said, yeah, I've always wanted to drive a tank. I'm driving. I told you the tanks along the DMZ story. So, you know, I said, this is it, you know. So I said, I joined up with a combat MOS. You know, what are you doing? So I looked down the list, and the last one is Section 32. I look over there, and the list goes down to about 17 or 18. Then it jumps to the bottom line, Section 32, psychiatric. And I said, oh, great. I want to be denied entry into the Army for, you know, whatever they, I forget whether it was still 4F or whatever it was for, you know, medical reason, and explain that for psychiatric reasons in the middle of the war, you know. And so there was this captain's office there, Carrera, I think his name was. I still remember some of these names. And I walk in his office. I threw those papers down. I said, what the fuck is with this? I said, I joined the fucking Army and you turned me down for, I didn't talk to any shrink.
Yeah.
And how you saying I'm fucking, you know, psychiatric reasons? I mean, this is really fucking pissing me off. And so he calls in this sergeant, you know, a big beef motherfucker. And, you know, I keep an eye on this guy, step back from my desk. And so he looks at my record and he says, well, I don't know. I said, I don't know how this got marked on there. I said, well, what the hell kind of place is this? You know, and so he says, well, I'll go and check on it. And so they had me come back. I had to make another trip up there to see a shrink, you know, and all the Army shrinks were taken up, and so they had to see a civilian shrink. And he said, this guy's qualified. As a matter of fact, given his personal background and all, he's actually highly qualified, well qualified, and probably good material for going to Vietnam.
Good.
And I'm saying yes. And so, because that was the whole point. Growing up, you have plans, you know. I knew I would have a beard. I would smoke cigars. I would ride motorcycles. I would be a truck driver. And
so you were a real bad dude back in the day. Still are a bad dude.
Well, I mean, I'm such a weenie now.
Really?
That's disgusting. I mean, it's not that I put up with shit with anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
do you think your son's a weenie?
he isn't in the game.
Oh, okay.
He's not
I
in
get
the
that.
game.
You know, he would. Well, first of all, he saw what happened to me.
Yeah.
And, you know, with the neck damage, and, you know, you take a few baseball bats in the neck, a few 2x4s in the back and the neck and the head, and, you know, and nobody has ever knocked me out. This permanent sore right there.
Yeah.
It used to be, the hairline was down here. You used to not be able to see it.
No way.
But when I got that, I was in I think it was a Marlin Inn or someplace in St. Pete, and we were drinking. And we walk in there, and it's like, you know, totally dark. Can't see shit. So you got to let your eyes adjust. You know, you've been in bars like that. And so my eyes adjust, and I see it's a whole bunch of these old fucks. I mean, you know, and St. Pete was a retirement capital of the U.S. back then. It was like the elephant burial grounds for old people here in the U.S. And so, and there they are, drinking, you know, and carousing and shooting pool. And they got these old floozies with them, the old barflies, you know, and, you know, all their nips are pointing south, you know, and everything, you know. And, oh, man, so we're looking around, and I'm kind of joking with this guy. So this dude overhears me, and he takes a little offense at this, and he turns around, he had his mixer there, was a Coke. And it was a little little runt bottles, from back in the day, the real thick ones. And so he had that sitting there with his drink, and I don't know, we had words, and so I'm not worried about this guy. He's a little taller than I am. He's an old guy. And he whips that thing off the bar and whammo! Hits me right in the fucking head here.
What the fuck?
Busts the bottle over my head.
Yeah.
And right away I start seeing the twinklers,
Yeah.
I don't know, you ever been hit that hard?
I have actually been hit that hard before, but I believe I was knocked the fuck out.
Oh, man, I was hanging on the bar, man.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of, I wasn't sitting on the stool. That can be hazardous.
Yeah.
You want to be ready, So I kind of leaned back against the stool, against the bar. And I'm saying, I go, hey, man. And I can see him kind of through there. And I said, hey, that's rude, dude. I mean, And I'm just trying to maintain and stay upright.
Of course.
And this guy, he's holding a bottle. He says, holy shit, did you guys see that? I hit this fucker on the head with a Coke bottle. He busts it, and he's sitting there mouthing off still.
That's sad.
And I said, well, I'll kick your ass, and I'm doing all this shit. And because I always wore full cleated boots. I made my own cleats on my boots out of truss plates, they used to put trusses together. Well, I draw an outline around my boot, so my whole heel was cleated. And then I put a couple of spacers in there and then put another thing over there, so there's a double cleated boot. Man, I mean, I taught Zach never to kick anybody with your toes. You break your fucking toes or you hurt your feet.
True.
It's always the heel kicks, Never hit big bones.
Don't hit big bones with little bones.
There you go.
No,
and so,
one of the only times that I've ever seen my dad actually disappointed in me, because you taught me how to use every kind of weapon or use anything, how to kill things, etc., is you were disappointed that I was bad at throwing a knife.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Well, but he kind of made up for it with the axe.